Russia tells the US to stop arming Ukraine or there would be consequences. In a diplomatic note this week, Russia said that the US and NATO's shipments of the most sensitive weapons systems to Ukraine were adding fuel to the conflict there and could have unprecedented consequences. A copy of the diplomatic letter was seen by the Washington Post. It came as President Biden approved a $800 million package of weapons for Ukraine, which included 155mm howitzers, coastal defense drones, armored vehicles, and more anti-aircraft and antitank weapons. It also included a lot more ammo and other supplies. The United States has also helped to get long-range air defense systems to Ukraine, such as S-300 launchers made by the Soviet Union. Ukrainian forces have already been trained to use them. In return, the administration said last week that the United States will send a Patriot missile system to Slovakia and work with Slovakia to find a long-term replacement for it. Shipment of the weapons, the first of which U.S. officials say will arrive in Ukraine in the next few days, comes after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made an urgent request to President Joe Biden. Russian forces are said to be preparing for a major assault on eastern Ukraine's Donbas region and the coastal strip that connects it to Crimea in the south. The Russian military has largely withdrawn from most of the country's northern parts. What the Russians are telling us privately is the same thing we've been telling the world, said a senior administration official, who spoke on condition of anonymity about a sensitive diplomatic document. The huge amount of help we've been giving our Ukrainian partners is working very well. The State Department did not say what the two-page diplomatic note was about or how the United States would respond. Putin, who has called weapons convoys coming into Russia legitimate military targets but has not yet attacked them, may be getting ready to do so. There are supply depots in Ukraine where some of these supplies have been kept, says George Beebe, who worked for the CIA and was Dick Cheney's Russia advisor. The real question is whether or not they try to hit the supply convoys and NATO countries on the Ukraine's periphery that serve as transfer points for the US supplies, he said. There are a lot more chances that NATO supplies will be targeted by Russia if Russian forces don't do as well as they did in the first phase of the war, Beebe said. People in the West have thought that they could give the Ukrainians everything they needed and not be in danger of being punished by Russia, he said. That's not true, and I think the Russians want to show us that it's not. Tuesday was the date of the diplomatic note, which was sent on the same day that word started to spread about the new arms package. It brought the total amount of U.S. military aid to Ukraine since the February 24 invasion to $3.2 billion. New capabilities will be added to help fight the wider assault we expect Russia to launch in eastern Ukraine, Biden said in a public statement on Wednesday. The document, called On Russia's Concerns in the Context of Massive Supplies of Weapons and Military Equipment to the Kiev Regime, was sent to the State Department by the Russian embassy in Washington. It was written in Russian with a translation. People who asked for comment from the Russian embassy didn't get a response. Russia said that multiple launch rocket systems were among the things that were most sensitive. The United States and its NATO allies aren't thought to have given those weapons to Ukraine. Russia said the allies broke rigorous principles when they sent weapons to war zones and didn't pay attention to the threat of high-precision weapons falling into the hands of radical nationalists, extremists, and bandit forces in Ukraine. It said NATO was trying to get Ukraine to give up on talks with Russia that were slowing down and not working in order to keep the bloodshed going. Washington, it said, was putting pressure on other countries to stop working with Russia on military and technical issues and to give their old Soviet-era weapons to Ukraine so that Ukraine could defend itself against Russia. Kirby said that after the U.S. sends weapons to the region, Ukraine's troops bring them into the country. The less we say about that, the better.